Hi, everybody. I'm John Self. Welcome to Career Live. It's noon Central Time, 1 o'clock New York, and I think about 10 o'clock in Los Angeles. Beautiful day here in Texas. I hope you're having a great Friday afternoon. We were supposed to go on live at 11 a.m., but we had some connectivity problems, minor thing, but we resolved it. So we just decided to push it back until noon. Today on CareerLIVE, we're going to be talking to you about how to protect yourself in a job interview. Now, boy, that sounds kind of dystopian, or at least a little bit kind of serious. But the truth is, a lot of people have a problem with the job because they didn't explore what the job was all about during that opportunity they had, which was the job interview. Most people they don't think about it in those terms. I've had candidates tell me I had questions because I didn't want to, just tell them, no, I didn't have any questions. I said, well, did you? Well, no, I didn't, but I had some questions so that they would know that I was interested in the job. Boy, is that the wrong attitude to have. And we're going to talk about that more. Hi again, everybody. I'm John Self. We're in Tyler, Texas, which is a little bit outside of Dallas, home of the University of Texas Medical School at Tyler, Tyler Junior College, University of Texas at Tyler, and my little humble company, johngself.com and Guiding Your Career Academy. We're delighted you're with us today. We're going to talk about some really important stuff that I think some people, just take for granted. And that is they don't really ask the questions they need to be asking in the job interview. So let's get busy and talk about that today. Interviewing is a two-way street. And I say that as a big idea, but a lot of people don't really fully appreciate that. A lot of people are reluctant to ask questions because they don't want to create a problem. They don't want to be seen as ungrateful. They don't want to be seen as a problem, all of the above. Okay. So you want to go into these interviews prepared, because your questions and the insight, this is really the important part. The insight you gain from the answers you get is really the linchpin for your success in the subsequent job interviews. And people don't look at it that way. They say, well, you tell me I need to connect my strengths and my value with their needs, but how am I going to know that until I get into the interview? Well, you get started actually before you have the first interview. So let's explore that today. Number one, you've been selected for a screening interview. You get this call, okay? And this is, a lot of people who work their tail off, send in hundreds of applications and don't even get this. Well, this is the first step. You've been notified, you're going to be screened. So here's some questions I think you should ask during that initial call, not the screening call, but the initial notification call. Number one, who's going to conduct the screening? Number two, how long is the call going to last? Because that'll help you kind of prepare your answers and be very, very sort of mindful of their time. Then you want to say, well, is this a corporate recruiting person doing the job, or is it retained, or is it a contingency recruiter? Now, why do you want to know that? The corporate recruiter probably should have a lot of information about what the organization's like, what the job is, what the job's all about, who the supervisor is, that sort of thing. A retained firm is going to have similar information, maybe a little bit different kind of look at it, a little bit different perspective. They'll probably focus on some other issues like culture more. I've had a lot of corporate recruiters that don't really want to answer the corporate culture issue because they don't feel comfortable with it. I'm not sure why. But the corporate and the retained people are going to be the people who give you the best information. Contingency recruiter, it's all about speed. It's all about speed. And if they don't get your name in, they don't get paid. And if they don't get it in first, they don't get paid. So one of the things you have to be careful with contingency recruiters, not that they're bad. A lot of people still use this business model, but sometimes they will push stuff through pretty fast, or maybe downplay stuff that they think you might not like, just to get you into the loop. Okay. And then ask them to describe the process and anticipation. What's the anticipated decision date? If you're already involved in some other searches, that'll help you kind of map out how this one's going to play in the mix with all the other things you've got working. Now, the second thing you want to focus on is, why is this job vacant? Okay. What was the tenure of the predecessor? What happened to him and how long was he here? What are the key challenges? Now we're getting into that issue to help you get prepared for the next interview. This is a screening interview. This is just going to decide whether they're going to advance you. So they're going to ask you some questions about your experience and your accomplishments a little bit. But you need to then start digging in at this point to find out, what are the key challenges I would deal with if I were hired for this job? That will help you get organized. So when you are interviewed in a more in-depth manner, you'll be able to connect your value with their needs. At this point, it's a good idea to ask what the comp range is. What's the package? And just say, I don't want to waste your time, and we don't want to waste each other's time. Then you want to know, to whom will I report? Because that gives you some opportunity to go to LinkedIn and find out who they are, just as you would in the screening interview. When you ask who the screening person is going to be, you're going to look them up on LinkedIn as well. When you say, who am I going to report to, and tell me about that person. Now, anytime you get an answer and it's pretty brief, okay, you're not going to want to spend too much time tracking down information in the notification call or the screening interview, because these things are 30 to 40 minutes. Okay. So you want to be very, very focused on that, but you can ask, tell me about the person. What are they like? And then you want to be sure if there are any internal applicants. Okay. That'll help you. That's going to kind of help you decide how much effort you need to put in. If they've got two or three internal candidates, the chances are diminished that you'll get an opportunity to get picked. So what I would do is just ask that. Don't make too much information about it. Talk to your coach and get him or her to weigh in on that, to kind of give you some perspective. Okay. But internal applicants, sometimes they don't want to tell you because they think, okay, this person is not going to be interested because, the conventional wisdom, we're going to award it to the internal person. Funny thing about the conventional wisdom, it's seldom right. Okay, the third step, is now we're at the first in-depth interview. And so you really want to go back in now and really focus on the culture and values. What's the turnover rate? Okay, that's another thing that's going to give you a good heads up about what the culture is. If they've got a big time turnover rate, then they also have some cultural issues, either in terms of behaviors or compensation or that sort of thing. So you want to know about the culture and the values, but you also want to know about the turnover rate. That's kind of a truth-telling answer. Whatever they tell you, if it's a high number, then you need to really think about things very carefully going forward. You then want to get some more information about the key challenges. Now, in this interview, you're going to have to move on the fly, but this will help you for the next interview. And if they do a fourth site visit interview, this will really help get you prepared. But the question then is, what are the key challenges? Is it turnover? Is it bad regulatory performance? Is it, external market? You want to know what the challenges are. And then you also want to know how, if I'm the successful candidate, how will my performance be evaluated? Again, this is a little bit of an opening into the nature of the company and what's going on inside and how they're going to view you. A lot of people don't ask this question. A lot of people don't ask the culture question. And these are two areas that get people in trouble more than you can imagine. You want them to go in and be sure, if you're not happy with the details you got in the original question regarding compensation package, or if the recruiter or the person that's going to screen you didn't want to talk about it, this is where you need to know. I cannot tell you, again, I use that phrase a lot, but it's just always astounding to me that people get to the end of the search and then are just amazed that the job they're being offered is less than they're making today. Okay, why would you want to waste all your time and run the risk of being exposed for a job that you're never going to take because it doesn't pay adequately? Okay, so that's really, really sort of a key issue. Describe the package and be sure you understand relocation, you understand all the benefit package, etc. Don't wait too long. Now, sometimes the initial person doing this interview may not have a lot of information, but they should have this compensation range and whether relocation is involved. Now, the next final thing you want to ask in this interview is, if I'm advanced, what are the next steps? Okay, so you're going to talk about culture and values. What's the turnover rate, which supports the first question? The key challenges, which helps you get a better handle on operations. How will you evaluate my performance? You want to know that because you don't want to go in thinking it's going to be X and it turns out to be Y. Describe the package. Be sure you understand that. Be sure you understand about the moving relocation. And then you want to know, okay, what are next steps? When will that happen? What should I look for? So the fourth issue in the questions you should ask is going back. Now, this may be a third interview. It may be the final interview. Now, in the old days, this old day, when I was doing executive search, we would always do the final interview on site with the client. But now, increasingly, they're relying on video conferencing. I like video conferencing. I think it's a great tool, but I think sometimes at the very end, you really need to sit face to face with a person you're going to hire or you're going to work for, so that you really are certain that you're on the same page. But if you don't have any good detailed information yet, or if you're suspicious about some of the information you've gotten, this is a good time if you're meeting with somebody new that you haven't talked with before. Why is this position open? Did the incumbent screw up and get fired? Did he get a better job? Is he transferred within the company? And again, go back into this area because this is so important. This issue and performance are the reason that 40 to 45% of all executives, that are recruited into an organization are gone within 18 months. So this is one way you can kind of mitigate that. You also want to talk about the culture in the unit and are there any turnover issues? This is, again, very, very important. And then how would you describe the financial picture, whether it's the department or the division or the entire corporation? You want to be very, very careful in today's marketplace that you don't jump onto a sinking ship thinking your dream boat has come in. When you get that dream job, you don't want to sink. And in today's marketplace, if you sink through no fault of your own, it's going to be still a very tough slog to get a better position. Okay, step 5. This would be a side interview generally. So some of the questions you want to ask here is, tell me about the people I'm going to interact with. Okay, this is another way to kind of get at what you're hearing about the issue of culture and all those other things, and how you're going to be evaluated. This is something people don't ask very often. Then you want to know what percent of the management team is homegrown. What percent of the leadership team is homegrown? It's not bad to have an organization with a strong tradition of bringing people up from within. But in businesses that are changing a lot, there's a lot of turmoil and transition because of rapid market changes. Having too many people internally may suggest the organization is not as bold and as innovative as it should be. If it's a new position that you're applying for, ask why. Okay, who's going to be a loser is going to lose some departments or lose part of their function that they're currently overseeing to put it in with your job. I mean, who's going to be winners and who's going to be losers? That's really important to really kind of sort through. And if you can, when you're in the site visit, if you have a chance to meet with, some of those people, that would be great. Now, you also want to know, if you're especially in healthcare, but most other industries as well, are there any quality, service, or regulatory issues? That you just got to ask that question, and you really need to listen very carefully, because I've had people really get blindsided by that. What are the common characteristics of successful people I will work with? Because this again, is another filter, another way to understand what the culture is. And, that's just, I mean, it's everything almost. One of the other, issues is that people sometimes are afraid to ask these questions because they don't want the recruiter to think they're rude or that they're arrogant or anything else. Okay. Now, people don't always get answers to their questions, and that happens for a variety of reasons. Maybe the person doing the interview doesn't have the knowledge of or the policy information that you're asking. And some organizations have very strict rules on who says who to what, um, and when. So you just have to try to sort through it, be very careful, and just say, if they say, well, we can't talk to you about finances right now or compensation right now, just say, very good, I just don't want to get to the end of the process and have wasted your time, because I'm currently making, and give the mid-range of your salary range. And some people, once they hear it, they'll just pull away from you, won't even tell you that, which is kind of sloppy, but that happens too. So these are why you may not hear anything. And again, never confront, always ask and probe around very politely to get the information you need. You might want to ask, as you go through the process, if you have any interview teams, or even the solo one-on-one interviews, you might ask them if to, kind of vet some of the answers you've been given. Find out if you're being told the truth. Is there a good balance? Everybody's kind of saying the same thing. That's important to know. The final interview is an opportunity for you to clarify issues and get any outstanding questions answered. Please, please don't hold back. Again, if this is an organization that gets upset because you're asking a lot of detailed information, my position is, okay, that's interesting. However, you've got to protect yourself. And a lot of people don't do that. They don't follow through and answer the questions. They're afraid to piss off the interviewer. They're afraid to look bad before the CEO. And so sometimes people just bite their tongue, move ahead, and take the job. And that's just a really bad idea. Because if it is a culture issue and they bounce you out in a year or less, that's going to really hurt your career going forward, because there's a real shortage of management executive jobs right now. And a lot of people are, it's just a lot of people are looking for jobs, and it's really tough. I mean, it could take you 8 to 14 months to find another job. So once you got a new one, be sure it's the right one before you say yes. And then, don't let anybody mess around with you, because if you have to do a search again, it's going to be really, really tough. Now, one of the other things I want to talk to you a little bit about today is transformation. I was on a call yesterday, and we were talking about what's the ultimate value. Well, you want to help people, and I was thinking about this. I said, what my goal is, to help people really transfer, translate, transform from where they are now to where they want to be. Okay, and a lot of people struggle with this because they really don't know where they want to be. They don't have a plan. They say it's all up here, but then you start pressing them for what do they want their career to look like, and they don't have a clue. So, the transformational journey usually begins with something that happens, it's sort of usually kind of a maybe negative situation. And that's, that's just life. So there are going to be times where, maybe you get laid off and it's just a terrible time for you to happen. There are conflicts and all that other stuff. But this is where your transformation can begin. Now, people say, well, I don't want to be transformed. Well, don't stand on the tracks, because there's another train coming and you don't want to get run over. The train is innovation. It's machine learning. It is automation and recruiting. You get the picture. So, don't wait till you have some significant event to say, is this something I really want to do? Is this something that I'm going to be happy at? I'm going to look forward on Sunday night to going to work on Monday. So, I mean, I think these are key questions. And, I think a lot of people are stuck where they are and they're not happy, but they don't know how to get to the next level. We can help you work on that transformation. I think that is something that I really enjoy doing, and, helping people get to where they want to be. Okay. So a lot of people, you really press them, and they don't sound really excited. You're kind of doing a research interview regarding their history if you're helping with the resume, and you just get kind of perfunctory answers, you know, and you start thinking, okay, I need to find out a couple of things. Excuse me. When you get to this point, you say, are you satisfied with your job? And your question is, what are you going to do about it? If you're not happy, if you're on Sunday night and you don't feel good and you don't want to go to work the next day, what are you going to do? Are you just going to talk about it, or are you going to act on it? And that's really important. I know a lot of people would like to do certain things, but they do not want to act. Okay. And really in your professional life, you know, you have dreams, you have visions and goals. If they're up here, that's all they are. They're not very specific, and they're not intentional. You need to write it down and document it so that if people come to you and they ask you some of these questions, you're going to be very clear about what you want. It's important for you to be clear about what you want, because otherwise you're going to flounder where you are today. And you may be doing a good job, but flounder means you may not be moving forward to achieve your goals. You have to get very specific. And when you start through this step one of a transformation, you need to write it down. And that's why I talk so much about career planning. And we help people do career planning. And it's not a costly issue, but we help facilitate it. A lot of people, when you get into this thing about what do I want to do, you got to be very specific. You can't just say, well, I want to be at the top of the organization. You got to be very specific. What do you want to be doing? Where do you want to be doing it? That sort of thing. So the second thing is, stop letting today, okay, your problems, your frustrations, your doubts, you got to be careful, because when those invade your brain, you are going to be in trouble. Okay. It's just kind of crappy is what it is. So you can't beat yourself up. You can't call yourself stupid. You can't let negative thoughts get into your mind. I mean, think of it this way. If I told you I was going to send you an email and it was loaded up with a couple of viruses that would just knock your laptop or your telephone or your iPad or whatever in the dirt, would you open that message if you knew it had a big bad virus and could probably wipe out your whole system? Probably not. You probably would not want to find yourself in that position. So, you just have to be positive. You have to cannot allow the bad thoughts to invade your brain. I'm a recovering self-loathing person, to be perfectly honest. I used to get very frustrated and beat myself up. But when you do that, your brain's listening to you, and you've got to stop doing that. And you got to start thinking about your success and what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like. And then while you're in that successful mode, not in the negative mode with you letting your brain be invaded with all those thoughts, you really have to be positive, and then you have to take an action. See yourself in the role and then start taking action. So don't open the viruses, and don't infect your brain with the virus, because it'll kill you. I mean, it will really kill your ambition. It will limit your progress. It will keep you from being the best self you can be. Okay, science people tell us that we have about 90 to 90,000 thoughts a day. The problem is the thoughts we had today were pretty much the thoughts we had yesterday. And so you get into this negative cycle of action that's not really the best action to take, because it's based on what you're telling yourself. It may be inaction. So think about your success. If you want to be, you can be as specific as you want. I want to be a successful corporate executive, doing public relations and communications work. I want to be in a public company. I want to be in the C-suite. I want to be making a really big 6-figure income. I want stock options, blah, 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 all that stuff. Be specific. It's okay. It's not a reflection of your ego. It's a reflection of you saying, this is what I want, and I'm willing to work hard to get there. And I'm going to think about this, because what your brain thinks about is what's probably going to happen. So that's just a kind of a quick overview, and part of what we do when we go through the career planning process. We want your career to be transformative, and we would like to play a part of that. If you're a member, you get discounts on all our career planning and all of our coaching activities. So we hope that you'll take a look at our membership program at johngself.com. Click the little red tab on the right-hand side of the web page, and that'll take you to the membership page, and take a look around. Okay? Thank you, everybody. We hope you have a great weekend. We'll be working on some contact here. Now, next week, Wednesday, we will not have office hours on Wednesday. I'll be out of the city traveling, but we will have lunch and learn on Tuesday. And within probably by the 1st of February, all of these free coaching sessions will be for members only, and will be on a private Facebook page. So if you like the content and want to continue to receive the content, you can think about joining and becoming a member. We'd love to have you. And we're trying to build a community that's not only interested in getting information to advance their career, but also people who want to share. And we're creating a community page for that level of communication. So this is kind of an interesting thing, and we hope you'll come along for the ride and help us and give us your thoughts. Thank you all. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. This is kind of an interesting thing, and we hope you'll come along for the ride and help us and give us your thoughts. Thank you all. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.